Yo, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be talking about zombies and the concept of smart zombies or smart walkers, both in The Walking Dead and just in any kind of zombie medium. So it could be like World War Z, which is coming out next year, which should be a cool zombie movie, as well as any other. So this concept, basically what it relates to is, to what extent are walkers or zombies able to operate cognitively. So how are they able to problem solve? What do they know? What do they remember doing from their past life? What do they know how to do? And the concept of how smart they should be. In The Walking Dead, we haven't seen too many quote-unquote smart zombies. The only ones we saw were pretty much Morgan's wife in the first episode of the first season, where she walks up to the door handle and she tries to turn the knob, like she's done probably so many times, and then she kind of like looks in, that kind of stuff. So she could be considered like a smart zombie, knowing how to walk upstairs. Well, not necessarily that, but knowing how to turn a doorknob, okay, is something that a lot of walkers or zombies probably couldn't do. Most of them would just probably bump into the door and bang the door and this kind of stuff. Another example would be the zombie when in episode 2 of The Walking Dead, Guts, where he grabs this giant rock and he smashes the window of the building they're staying at with the rock, versus all the other zombies that are just pounding away at it. Also the zombie where, I think it's in the same episode, where he tries to climb the ladder. And he's climbing up a few, but he can't quite figure it out, and he kind of like falls down as Rick and Glenn climb up to the top of the building. This is a concept that George Romero has kind of worked on a lot in his zombie-related movies. There is Land of the Dead, which has several smart zombies. There is one that is a butcher, and when he turns into a zombie, he walks around with a cleaver, a butcher's knife. And he'll use it too, like he's a zombie, but he'll use the cleaver too, when it comes after people and stuff. Or if he's barred off and there's like a wooden fence or something, he'll use the cleaver to cut the wood out so they can get through it. So barriers, stuff like that. There's also a walker by the name of, I believe it is Big Daddy, and he's basically a smart zombie that I think he was a mechanic, or he worked at a gas station. I'm pretty sure he was a mechanic, and he's probably one of the smarter ones we've seen so far. In Land of the Dead, he does some cool things, like he uses gasoline to basically one of the characters in the movie who's like the quote-unquote bad guy, human guy. Big Daddy takes he's a zombie. He takes they're near a gas pump, and he covers the car in the fuel, and then he lights it, and then he boom, and the car, obviously lights up because he can't get at the guy inside. So, different stuff like that. Also, probably the smartest of them all would be in Day of the Dead by Romero, the zombie called Bub. And he basically is able to actually shoot a gun, and he also salutes, and he does all kinds of other things because the doctor was working with him, trying to make him more trying to train him basically on how to do things. And he does near the end of the movie. He's a zombie that actually shoots a gun and this kind of stuff. So I think this concept is actually extremely interesting. Taking zombies that are not quite like the rest, so they're all not exactly the same. I think zombies like the Butcher are very interesting because, obviously, he's got the cleaver with him and that kind of stuff, and he's obviously much more dangerous than most of the other walkers. And I think that bringing in a few here and there that have their own personalities is pretty interesting. You have all of these zombies that are all just, they all just mindlessly walk around, but then have a few here and there that are intelligent to a degree and can do certain things that the others can't. I think that adds a lot of interesting mechanics to the show or the movie or whatever it is. So in terms of whether or not I like the concept of smart walkers, I do actually, but I think that it has to be used properly, and it has to be like just a few. You don't want to have too many, And also, I don't like the concept of a zombie overlord. And this has been explored a few times in comic books during the 80s and stuff like that, with a zombie called King Zombie. I forget exactly where he was from, but he basically was able to, he led them, essentially, and the other ones would listen to them. I don't necessarily like that concept. Maybe a concept of like a alpha male zombie, but not one that has kind of like supernatural powers and this kind of stuff to mind control the others or to do different things. Just more of the concept of they're all kind of mindlessly doing things, and then one zombie all of a sudden will be like, hey, Why don't we, do this and try to open the door? Why don't we, use a knife and try to cleave out the fence? And all these different ideas I think are pretty interesting. Plus, it makes for some cool scenes because then if one of those zombies is able to get a hold of a guy like the butcher, he just cuts him in half or something, or cuts his arm off or something like a human. So yeah, I think the concept in The Walking Dead could be used a lot more than it is. Do I think it will be? I don't think so. I think the concept of smart walkers probably won't be explored in The Walking Dead. I think there is still room for it, though, in zombie shows that concentrate more on the walkers and on the zombies. I think that you can have, smart walkers here and there. I think it's an interesting concept. I like it, just in terms of the coolness and giving them all a personality. Because the thing about zombies is they're just like foot soldiers. They all are just, it's a zombie, whatever. Giving them their own personality kind of makes it more meaningful than that. In The Walking Dead, we saw, for example, the zombie who's out in the field just kind of, like roaming around and this kind of stuff, and there's no other zombies around it or anything. It's just kind of aimlessly walking. Having different zombies like that metaphorically can have implications, I think is interesting too. As well as when Rick and Shane are fighting at the school, the window smashes open. Most of the walkers chase Shane, but then Rick kind of gets up and this huge, like 6'5" walker comes out or something like that. And that whole leads to the concept too that, not every zombie is the same. If you have a female zombie that's 90 pounds, it's going to be easier to deal with than a 6'5", 250-pound zombie. Yeah, so I think that's kind of interesting too, and I like the concept of smart walkers. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about it. Feel free to comment if you've seen Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, what you think about it. Actually, there's another one too, Survival of the Dead, which actually I've never seen. I gotta watch it. I've heard it's not the best, but I gotta watch it eventually. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. See you for the next one later. Peace.